Hello there and welcome to the Card Grotto. Today I've got 3 clean and simple projects to share with you using the Glimmering Christmas project kit from Spellbinders. So to start off with, I'm going to make this card here, and this is using the Joyful Christmas Tree dies. First of all, I'm going to switch on my Glimmer Hot Foil system and let that heat up, and these are the Joyful Christmas Tree etched dies. Now I completely messed up when I made this card. I assumed for some reason that these were glimmer plates and that you could cut out the kind of glimmer side of it with dies. As it turns out, they are 2 sets of dies, cutting dies, that you would put the inside piece inside the outside piece and it would cut an outline. But if you didn't want to have it as an outline, you could just use the outside piece. For some reason, like I said, I completely thought that they were foiling plates, or glimmer plates, and so I foiled them. As it turned out, it worked out quite well and I really do like the result, but it wasn't quite meant to be. But it does show how versatile these dies actually are. So how I like to foil is I like to place the glimmer plates onto the foil and then onto a piece of cardstock, and I like to then place it upside down. This isn't kind of the conventional way to do foiling, but I personally find that it works quite well for me. So I heated up the platform here and then pressed the timer button, and the timer button flashes green while it's heating up, and then when it's completely heated up it goes to a solid green colour. Then I've just added a piece of printer paper over the top and then the shims that come with the glimmer system, and then here I can just be careful and lift up that piece of cardstock. So I'm just going to lift that up here and then remove the tape there that's been holding the dies in place. The bottom one did shift slightly. I was using this new purple tape for the first time and I didn't realise it had quite a lot less adhesion to it than the other purple tape. So I figured that out after this and added a bit more next time. So I just had to refoil those, and I did also then foil all of the other sizes of the pieces of the Christmas tree. So now I have the Holiday Sentiment Series 2 glimmer plates. These are actually meant to be foiled, and so I'm going to foil the Season's Greeting sentiment onto some black cardstock, and I'm using the silver foil for that. So I'm just doing the same as I did before. I have the cardstock at the bottom, then the foil shiny side up, then the glimmer plate, and then I'm just using a piece of that purple tape to hold that in place. And at this point the platform has heated up, so I can place that on the platform and then press that timer button. Then I can remove the platform from the base, add that printer paper and the 2 shims, and then run that through the Platinum 6, and that's going to push that foil into the cardstock. I can then place the platform back into the base to have that heating up ready for the next time, and then I can bring in the silicone mat here, which is heat resistant, and then I can just place the plate onto that to let that cool down. I'm then taking the die that comes in the set and I'm using just the plain one. There is one with some really nice piercing detail on as well, but I'm just using the plain one here just to cut out that sentiment. And I do actually foil that twice so that I could cut the pieces apart and use them separately, the 2 different words. So just running that through the Platinum 6, and then I can just remove that from the die. And like I said, I do this twice just so that I can cut them apart. Here I'm using the dies to cut out what I have done as foiling. So I'm just placing them down on top of the foiling and using some low tack tape just to hold that in place. So like I said, if you were just to use these as intended, you could cut out this portion just on its own and layer them up, which I think would be really nice. But you can also add that inside portion that I foiled and have an outline piece as well. So just using that low tack tape just to hold that in place. And then I can run that through the Platinum 6, and I just like to add a piece of printer paper over the top, and I think that just protects the foiling a little bit, and I can reuse those pieces of paper multiple times. So just running that through the Platinum 6 here. and then I can just remove those pieces out of the die. And again, I apologise that it's difficult to see the foiling here on camera, but you can see it at the end. So now I've taken an A2 sized card base and I have masked off the edges and then blended on some Turbo Teal FSJ ink. I've then taken all of these pieces that I have foiled and die cut, and I'm just placing them here where I want them to end up. There is a star that can go on top of the tree, but I didn't decide to use it because I basically ran out of space. However, I thought that these kind of colours that I used, the teal and the silver, could be more kind of like a wintry card rather than necessarily a Christmas card. So I think it would especially work nicely to send to people that don't celebrate Christmas. Kind of like more as kind of like a holiday or a winter card. So I'm using some foam squares here and I'm just cutting them down to size, placing them on the backs of these pieces here. And then I can just use some tweezers just to help me with the placement of those. And then I can just go through and add all of that foam squares onto the back of the pieces. And I can just place that top piece there right at the top of the Christmas tree. I'm taking my 2 sentiment pieces here and just adding some more foam squares onto the back of those, and then I'm going to place them on the edge of that ink blending. I thought this kind of looked quite modern in design, I suppose, for a Christmas card. But like I said, I think it would work really nicely just as a kind of general winter card. So here I've got some sequins that I'm just placing some glue down, some FSJ craft glue, and I'm just using that just to place those sequins down. And I did cut that one in half just so that it fitted underneath that sentiment piece. Just using some tweezers there just to help me out. And I can place that one there right at the top behind that sentiment banner as well. So I really like how the card came out, even though it's not quite being used as intended, the joyful Christmas tree. It worked really nicely for foiling, and I do really like that kind of subtle foiling with the silver against the white. And like I said, I think it looks very wintry, kind of snowy scene. Next up, I'm creating a tag. This is using the Glimmer Poinsettia Glimmer foil plates and die set. And I'm going to foil the poinsettias onto some white cardstock using rose gold foil. And this is the foil that comes when you purchase the Glimmer Hot Foil system from Spellbinders. Really pretty colour, and I thought it was something a little bit different for the poinsettias. So these poinsettias are 3 sizes, as you can see on screen here, and you do get the coordinating dies that cut them out as well. So I have foiled this size just to show you here on screen. It's really pretty. And then I'm using the coordinating dies to cut those out. You could have them all separate, but the 3 sizes layer on top of each other really nicely to create a really pretty poinsettia. So I'm just running that through the Platinum 6, and then I'm also using the leaf dies and just cutting those from plain white cardstock. So I can just remove that from the die there, and then I'm just using a small amount of craft glue just to place those poinsettia petals one on top of another, and just kind of staggering where the petals fall so that it looks like a nice full poinsettia. And then I'm just going to kind of manipulate the petals slightly so that they have a little bit more dimension to them and it makes a little bit more interest. I've then cut an FSJ tag from vellum, but it was a little bit too tall, so I cut the bottom off just to make it a bit more of the size that I wanted to. And then I'm using some more of the craft glue just to stick that down onto the tag. Now, because this tag is vellum, you are going to be able to see the adhesive through the other side. You could definitely cut another kind of poinsettia to fit on the back, and that would actually be able to have a really good place to be able to write a message. But I did think that I would just use this to add on to a gift, and I wouldn't necessarily want to write on the back anyway, so hopefully it wouldn't be too bad and you wouldn't see too much of the adhesive through the back. So I have also foiled the sentiment here. That's from the Holiday Sentiment Series 2 set again that I used on the last card, and I foiled that with some more rose gold foil and just finished off with a few gemstones and then also some twine at the top. And like I said, it's something a little bit different for a tag, having the see-through vellum. For my final project today, I'm creating again more of a wintry card using the Christmas Sweater Borders Glimmer Plate set. So this has 3 different sizes of the sweater borders, Christmas sweater borders. I've first cut a circle of a Lavender Fusion cardstock, and then I've done some ink blending on the bottom of that using the Lavender Fusion ink, just to kind of intensify that colour a little bit at the bottom and just again gives it a little bit more interest and dimension. I'm then going to foil the Christmas sweater border onto this piece with some opal foil. This is a really pretty foil. It kind of takes on any of the colour that is underneath, so in this case it would be the purple of the cardstock and the ink, and it just kind of gives like an iridescent look. I think it's really pretty, and I thought it would work nicely with the pattern on the Christmas sweater borders. So I have just foiled that onto the bottom half of this circle here, just being really careful to lift that up because the plate is quite hot at this point, and as you can see this gives a really nice pretty iridescence. And so I'm going to pick up that plate there with the tweezers that come with the glimmer system, and then I've let that plate cool down completely, and now I'm going to use it to foil the rest of the circle here. So I'm just being really careful to try and line up that kind of diamond piece, or it will in the end be a diamond. It's kind of like a triangle at this point, but hopefully when the 2 pieces line up nicely it will become a diamond. So just foiling that again, adding that onto the platform there. Once it's heated up, I'm just running that through the Platinum 6 like I have done with all of the other foiling. Placing that back into the base there, and I can lift that off, and when I lifted this one off the foil actually stuck to the printer paper, which was quite helpful so that I didn't burn my fingers or anything like that. And now I've just taken a panel of white cardstock and I'm using a Nestabilities circle die, and I'm embossing that onto the panel of cardstock, and this is just a slightly bigger size than the circle that I used for the foiling piece, and it just gives a nice sort of added extra onto a clean and simple card. Here I have the Christmas Mix and Match sentiment set, and these are a die set that cut out the sentiments. I have taken my panel of white cardstock that I embossed with the circle, and I've added that onto an A2 sized white card base, and I've added some foam tape onto the back of this circle piece here, just placing that down on top. And then I have cut that greetings word 3 times from Pretty Pansy cardstock and stacked those one on top of another, and I'm just lightly placing that down so that I can see where I want it to be. And I have foiled the From Me to You sentiment from the Holiday Sentiment Series 2 set again, and I foiled that onto white cardstock with black foil. So I'm just placing that down underneath the greetings word with some foam tape, and then I'm just adding some sequins just to finish that card off. And that's my 3 projects finished for today with the Spellbinders Glimmering Christmas Project Kit. They release these every month, and from the 10th of August the individual items that I used in this video will be available to purchase as well, but the project kit is available to purchase as a whole now over on the Spellbinders website. Links to the products that I used will be in the description bar on YouTube and also over on my blog. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.